Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome to the IELTS exam.
Thank you.
My name is Taylin.
Hmm.
I'll be your interviewer for this part of the test.
Thank you.
What is your full name?
My name is Joe.
So the speaking test has three parts,
Hmm.
and I will give you the instructions for each,
Okay.
and I'm going to record this for marking purpose.
Okay.
So if you're ready, let's begin the task.
Right.
For task one, we are going to talk about the neighborhoods.
Hmm.
So how often do you see your neighbors?
Hardly ever, because usually I leave home before the sun rises, and I get back home when it's already dark, when most people are glued to their televisions or computers or whatever. So I hardly ever know the neighbors.
Do you invite your neighbor to your home?
Like I said, I hardly ever know. So almost never have I invited them because they don't know me. I don't know them. We just exchange a few hellos and pleasantry when we run into each other on the street or on the stairways, but we don't really deal with each other.
Do you think that you are a good neighbor?
I believe so because I don't disturb anybody. I left home when they're still in bed, and I get back home when they are fully occupied. I don't disturb them in any way. And whenever they have problems, for example, like if they want to borrow some stuff of my home, like let's say books or some paraphernalia, I never say no. So you can call me a good neighbor.
Has a neighbor ever helped you?
Um, Well, I can't recall anything like that because well, sometimes like when I ran short of stuff, for example, like I remember once I ran out of cigarette and it was dark already, and we have like those curfew because of the COVID, and my neighbor was also a smoker, so I could borrow some cigarette from him. So that's the only thing that I could recall.
So now let's move on to part two.
Okay.
You will have to talk about the topic for 1 to 2 minutes.
Okay.
You have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say.
Mhm.
You can make some notes to help you if you wish.
All right.
Here you are.
All right.
Okay, so you can start.
Okay. So during that COVID period, and I was doing a very young kid class, kids like about let's say 6, 7 years old, and I had to teach them online. And in those days, Zoom wasn't very popular, and even when Zoom was popular, kids couldn't actually operate it without the help of the parents, and most parents were busy. So I thought about keeping them on Facebook, and it was successful, but there were some difficulties. For example, like if I wanted to post some MP3, Facebook cannot accept those MP3 uploads. So then I could change those MP3 in Format Factory in a couple of minutes, but it was plain, and children were not interested. So what I did was I get like screen recorder, and I got some JPEG file, and I play the MP3 with the JPEG file. I get them recorded, and I transform them into video, and I post them in the Facebook, and that was successful. That's how I dealt with the problem. And another thing is like the school advised me to keep them in the Google Classroom, but like I said, the kids are very young, so they don't know how to do assignments in the Google Classroom. So what I did was that I posted my material in the Google Drive, and I made it available to public, and I dropped them. I get the link in the a Facebook group, and I asked them to send me back to the email rather than do the assignments in the Google Classroom. And it has really worked. If I insisted them to stay in the Google Classroom, I guess probably I'm gonna lose them, most of them, because they found it's really tricky to do the assignments, and also they're so young. But by doing those MP3 into MP4, and by using the Google Drive material, getting the link in the Facebook group, and getting them sent to their homework to my Gmail, I could handle the situation effectively, and that's what I feel as a success.
So now let's move on to part 3.
Okay.
So we are going to talk about difficult jobs. So what are the most difficult jobs that people do?
Well, I would say it depends on your preferences. It's like a lot of my friends say my job is difficult because I have to stand in front of tens or hundreds of pairs of eyes, and I have to get the attention. But I find it really easy. But instead, some people they do like what we call accounting jobs and stuff. I mean, they enjoyed it. I'd rather die than being an accountant. It's like, sitting in a table dealing with the figures and fact. So I would say it depends on the individualities to determine whether they find a job difficult or not. But what I found out the other day is, like, there's a guy who works only twice a year, and he got paid like six-figure sums of American dollars. But that was scary. He has to climb the tower, which is really high, to change the light bulb at the top. It's twice a year, and he seems to be enjoying. I couldn't even imagine doing the job. He got paid like I don't know, 600,000 US dollars, and he does his job just twice a year, and I find it really scary.
Why do you think some people choose to do those difficult jobs?
Like I said, maybe probably they love the thrills and they love the excitement. For example, there are like hundreds of pilots in the United States queuing up for being an astronaut. I mean, just imagine you're in the space alone, just hundreds of thousands of miles away from the world, and you have no idea what risk you're facing. But they are prepared to die for it in the name of exploration or whatever. I wouldn't actually dream of it, but there are like hundreds of thousands of American pilots who love to be in the space, and even like people like Dennis Tito, for example, who spent like millions of dollars to be a space tourist. I wouldn't dream of it. So I think probably it has to do with their personality and their nature.
Do you agree or disagree that all jobs are difficult sometimes?
Yeah, I would say it's like whatever job. For example, a driver is like, for a driver who loves driving, they would think their job is easy. But for me, I imagine, I mean, if they wanted to use the toilet, for example, where would they stop and go for it? I mean, if they don't have like a gas station nearby and stuff. And just imagine some simple job like waiter is not easy, because you've got to deal with difficult customers, and you got paid like chicken feet. So each job has its difficult part that people are hardly aware of.
How important is it for everyone to have a goal in their personal life?
I believe it's crucial, because some people, they do jobs because they have no other choice and they don't have the goals. Like you can look at those, most, not all, government employees, for example. They don't have their clear goal. They go to work, and then they sit at a tea shop, or they play chess, or they talk about Korean movies, and they just go home and they spend like years and years, while the other people who have clear goals are actually making a fortune and retired early. So without the goal, I guess probably you don't have a direction. And when certainly one day that you wake up, then you're in the middle of nowhere while most of your contemporaries or peers have left you far behind, and that will be really heartbreaking.
Is it always necessary to work hard to in order to achieve your career goal?
I don't think so, because working hard was important, or was considered a quality back in those days. But with those technology, working smart is more important than working hard. No matter how hard you work, without any accomplishment or without any result, all your hard work will go down the drain. While just if you could use a lever, why would you use your energy to lift something while you could simply use a lever or a machine, or when you could simply press a button, things can be done. But if you're actually using your muscles, then probably that would be a waste of time.
Do you think that successful people are always happy people?
Um, well, I think probably it's hard to say, because success is also something that has a lot more to do with different interpretation. I guess some people, when they feel successful, but for another observer or outsider, they would think it's ridiculous. For example, like people who want to be rich, and when they earn money, then probably like they think they are successful. But for people who value other things over money, they wouldn't care, anything about that success. So I think probably being successful doesn't necessarily have to do with being happy. And also, like, there are some successful people, for example, like they are considered generally successful in their career, for example, but they might have their failing family life or the failing health problems, and they could be secretly or openly unhappy despite their success. So maybe you can say, like, generally it could be considered success equals to happiness, but not in every case.
So this is the end of the
Okay.
test, speaking test 3, part 3. So thank you very much for
All
your
right.
time.
Okay.